This week, it's time for an episode I've been holding off on until the time was right. Some think of this character as the original, forgotten Autobot, but he's about to make a comeback. These are the basics on SKIDS. The story of SKIDS begins with the Japanese toy line Diaclone. In 1982, a Diaclone toy was released that transformed into a Honda City R subcompact car. In 1983, a second version of the toy was released, retooled slightly into a Honda City Turbo, and it was this version that was then imported by Hasbro to become part of the Transformers series, though some Transformers media would misinterpret the vehicle as a minivan. SKIDS hit shelves towards the end of the line's first year, 1984, an unusual late addition to the initial product line, released in time for Christmas. SKIDS' character profile, penned by Marvel Comics writer Bob Budiansky, described him as a thinker, not a fighter. He was an anthropologist and theoretician who had an enormous memory storage capacity that he put to use studying life on Earth. He was also a daydreamer who often got lost in thought while driving, forcing him to brake sharply to avoid causing accidents, hence his name. The odd in-between release of SKIDS' toy, not fully belonging to either the first-year cast of characters or to the new group of bots introduced in the 1985 product line, led to SKIDS sort of falling between the cracks. He appeared in very little classic media, only showing up in the Transformers cartoon for 2 brief one-line cameos in its second season, voiced by a different actor each time. Michael Chien in Quest for Survival,
Spotting insecticide?
and Dan Gilvezan in Triple Takeover.
We'll start at the 10-yard line.
He did, however, enjoy a prominent role in the Marvel comic book, in which he was one of several Autobots who, back on Cybertron, had allowed their brains to be copied onto crystals so they could be implanted in new bodies on Earth. In his own memorable Spotlight storyline, SKIDS' desire to experience life on Earth almost led him to abandon the Autobots, so he could live in peace with a human girl named Charlene, until an attack by the Decepticon Ravage made SKIDS realize he couldn't run from his responsibilities, and had to stop living in a daydream. SKIDS continued to enjoy the spotlight in another adventure that saw him run afoul of the government's anti-Transformer task force. But after his toy was discontinued in 1986, he was quietly phased out of the comic. The United Kingdom's version of the comic worked his absence into its exclusive stories, in which time travel technology hurled SKIDS outside of space and time and into the empty void of limbo, where he would be trapped for 2 years. Later UK stories saw SKIDS eventually escape from limbo, only to be followed by a horde of monsters, his own nightmares, brought to life by the psychic parasites that dwelled in limbo. SKIDS nearly killed himself trying to destroy the monsters, but was saved thanks to the help of a ragtag group of disenfranchised Autobots and Decepticons led by Springer. SKIDS joined their ranks, and together they became the Survivors. After the end of the original series, the name SKIDS wouldn't be heard in Transformers again until the 21st century, when Hasbro began reusing it on various new characters unrelated to the original. The first was in 2001's Robots in Disguise, an Autobot scout who turned into a Formula 1 race car. As seen in the Robots in Disguise cartoon, this SKIDS scanned the car of the deceased racing driver Augie Canay and became possessed by Canay's racing spirit, giving him the uncontrollable urge to take part in any race he came across, an urge SKIDS had to fight to overcome to save his fellow Autobots from Megatron. For this series, Hasbro changed the spelling of SKIDS' name to SKIDS with a Z to make it more trademarkable, but this didn't stick. The spelling was used only once more for the SKIDS released in Transformers Armada in 2003, an impressionable young luxury car Minicon who was partners with the evil Predacon. A live-action movie incarnation of SKIDS was introduced in the 2009 film Revenge of the Fallen. This SKIDS was one of a pair of misshapen twins. He and his brother Mudflap were both young, eager, but not very bright Autobots, wannabe gangsters who constantly talked trash and bickered with each other. Initially, the two combined into an ice cream truck, but early in the film they switched to individual alternate modes, with SKIDS becoming a Chevrolet Beat. The pair accompanied Sam Witwicky on his quest for the Matrix of Leadership, and took on the giant Devastator together. Now, it seems like SKIDS and Mudflap were expected to become popular new characters. There were plenty of toys of them, and they even starred in their own comic strip prequel published in the UK. But when the film came out, the response was universally negative, with the twins being widely criticised for being racist stereotypes of African Americans. They were originally set to return in the 2011 sequel Dark of the Moon, with both now transforming into Chevrolet Sparks. But it was almost certainly because of the negative reaction that they wound up being cut from the film. Toys of their new forms were released, but their only on-screen appearance was a blink-and-you'll-miss-it bit of footage that didn't get snipped. Their scenes survived into the comic and novel adaptations of the film, which revealed that they would have been killed by turncoat Autobot leader Sentinel Prime. 10 years on, the twins' pronounced absence from all subsequent movie media, including even the comprehensive Studio Series toy line, makes it look like this is a SKIDS we're not going to see again anytime soon. As for the original SKIDS, his near-total absence from the original cartoon has earned him a reputation as this obscure, forgotten character, but that's not really that true. Sure, he's lesser known than most classic Autobot cars, but his role in the Marvel comic is fondly remembered, and he's continued to make minor appearances in various new comics throughout the 21st century, as well as getting a new toy in 2005's Alternators toy line that transformed into a Scion XB subcompact car. In Japan, his original toy and the original Honda City R figure were released in an exclusive 2-pack from Million Publishing in 2009, recolored to look like SKIDS and Mudflap from Revenge of the Fallen. The green figure was SKIDS, clad in a new armour that allowed him to travel between dimensions, while the red one was Screech, an alternate version of SKIDS from another universe. The pair travelled dimensions together, searching for the lost Screech's home world, and working as quantum operatives, keeping peace in the multiverse. But it was in 2012 that SKIDS got his biggest role yet, as a main cast member in the IDW Publishing comic book More Than Meets the Eye. This series put a new spin on the massive memory capacity mentioned in SKIDS' original profile, depicting him as a super learner, able to quickly and easily master a huge number of skills. Ironically, when he was introduced into the comic, a botched mission had left SKIDS with amnesia, and with no memories of his old life, he decided to reinvent himself as a devil-may-care adventurer, joining the crew of the starship Lost Light and becoming good friends with quantum mechanic Nautica. In time, it was revealed that SKIDS' lost memories included horrific experiences in the Decepticon prison camp Grindcore during the war, but he was able to use those memories to give his crewmates a fighting chance when they were facing death at the hands of the Decepticon Justice Division. He insisted that neuroscientist Chrome Dome reawaken his buried memories, causing a trauma so great that it essentially caused SKIDS' spark to explode, killing him, but releasing an energy wave that supercharged his friends and allowed them to fight back. SKIDS' role in IDW's comics earned him serious popularity with a whole new generation of fans, and led to the release of a new toy in the Transformers Generations toy line in 2013, based on his unique design from the comics. This figure would also be released in the Japanese Transformers Legends toy line in 2016, packed with manga that continued the story of SKIDS' Japanese adventures hopping across dimensions. Though things got a little quiet for Skids again after that, as we near the end of 2021, his star's on the rise once more, with the upcoming release of both a high-end collector targeted figure in the Masterpiece toy line, and a new toy in 2022's Transformers Legacy, both based directly on the original, proving that while some might consider him obscure and forgotten, to others, Skids will always be remembered. And those are the basics on Skids. It's only fitting that you share your memories of him in the comments. For more Transformers history and lore like this, don't forget to subscribe, and make sure you're remembered by getting your name in the credits when you support the show on Patreon.